Today we have a makeup and a movie where I do my makeup.
And I talk about a movie.
And today is actually a collab with my good friend Cassie over at Southeast by Midwest. We are both doing a makeup look with the new Pirates of the Caribbean Lorac palette. If you missed the swatch out video we did for that last week, I will post it down below so that you can see swatches of this. We are kind of mixing up our swatch out videos, so make sure you are subscribed so you stay tuned to that. But of course, the movie we're talking about today is
Pirates of the Caribbean.
We're only talking about the first one because that's the only one we've watched recently. However, the new one is coming out at the end of May, and we will be doing another look with this palette for that, and that's a much bigger collab. Before we get started, make sure you don't miss any of our interactive opportunities, like, subscribe, and share this video. Also, if you want to follow us on social media, that'll all be down here. And if you are a content creator, make sure you join us in our Geeks and Beauties Facebook community so that you can do lots of awesome collabs with us like this. Comment down below if you like the palette, if you got the palette, or if there are other palettes you want me to get.
It was a little hard to get this one, wasn't it?
No, this one was actually fairly easy. Yeah,
okay.
This one was good. So one thing you do need to know before we start is that because I said I was going to be doing two different types of looks with this palette, today's look is going to be more of a business casual, something you can wear, more natural, whereas the one at the end of the month will be more piratey themed and very like dramatic. Okay, so that's going to be the difference between the two looks, which you're going to be able to do both with this palette. Let me tell you.
So this is the Admiralty look.
Sure. Yep. Sure.
Yeah.
Also, before we start, I wanted to show you these other things I got. Okay, so the first thing is I'm starting this like compact collection without even realizing it. My husband totally got me this compact, and I've shown you the Frozen one I had before from Sephora. My husband got this one at Disney Store online, and it's the Beauty and the Beast one, and I'm sorry, it's gorgeous. Mm-hmm. And so this summer, Luxie is coming out with a Wonder Woman collection, and I'm totally getting that one too, because these are like so classy, and I totally use them in these videos because I need them for putting on like eyeliner. The other thing I wanted to tell you is I got these brushes, and I just used them for the first time today, but they are really cool. Really cool looking. I put a picture on my Instagram stories as well, but they're like this ombre with the pink on the bottom. But there's a fluffy brush, which is really awesome for blending. I use this one for contouring today, this one for blush, this one for my highlight, and then I'm going to be using these three for my eye look along with some other ones, but we'll see how these work as well. Got these on Amazon for a really good price. They were like under 20 bucks. So, plus they're really cool looking. So, heck yes. All right. Now that I've rambled a lot, let me tell you how I'm going to do my look today. So here is, let's do it this way. Here is the palette itself. What I'm going to be doing is using Yoho, this one right here. It's kind of a taupey color. I'm going to be using that all over my lid to provide a really nice base. And then I'm going to be probably using Treasure, that's this one right here, in the crease. Then probably a little bit of Shiver Me to blend it out. And then on the lid, I'm going to use Compass, which is a really pretty gold color. I might also, you know what, I've changed my mind. I'm going to use Pirate's Chest on then Treasure to build up the depth a little bit more.
Okay.
All right, let's do this.
Great. So if you haven't watched the original Curse of the Black Pearl, Pirates of the Caribbean movie, the show is all about meeting this Captain Jack Sparrow and throwing two people's lives completely in a disarray because of a curse.
And as my husband would say, that's the best entry of any character in any movie ever. When he comes in on his ship as it's sinking. Mm-hmm.
Because it makes it look like, oh, look at me, I'm sailing away on the crow's nest, tall ship. No.
Well, he's sinking.
And then he just steps off onto the dock. The plot line was actually rather surprising to me when we first watched it. And there's a reason why it's been such a popular movie.
Right.
It's got so much style. And a lot of that is due to Johnny Depp's performance, mm-hmm. and also his ad-libbing.
Yep.
a lot of the character of Jack Sparrow was completely ad-libbed, and you know what? People have talked about this for ages. We don't need to talk about that character anymore.
And people have been talking about this as recently as this weekend when Johnny Depp decided to show up in costume as Jack Sparrow and the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland. And people were like, oh my gosh, it's really him! It's not just some character from the park. Like, he's cool like that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, Johnny Depp is a really cool guy, very creative, and he loves his fans. You could imagine just what he could do if his publishers and his agents just let him go free. Just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
The show also, I keep calling it a show. This movie also stars Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley, and when this movie was first coming out, it was about the same time, I believe, as Two Towers, which was another movie about...
Oh, yes it was.
Yeah.
Yes it was.
So that also had Orlando Bloom. However, this movie is even older than that. This movie was originally being shopped around in the 90s.
Yes it was.
The Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio have said in interviews that they wrote the script in the early 90s. Steven Spielberg got his hands on it, and he wanted to make the film direct to video, and they were going to have Bill Murray, Steve Martin, or Robin Williams play as Jack Sparrow.
Oh my gosh.
Disney, however, refused to give permission to do the movie for a long time. Then, when they finally did, they were also kind of thinking, well, let's make this into a direct-to-video movie. They were going to have Robert De Niro. They offered him the role of Jack. He declined. He thought that this movie was not going to go anywhere. Nobody cared about pirates.
Well, we showed him.
So when he was proven wrong, he accepted the role of Captain Shakespeare in Stardust.
That is awesome.
Which was in 2007. So you can kind of see that this has been around for a while, and it's had a real big effect on the movie industry.
It really has. Like, for me personally, I saw this movie, the first movie, I saw it in the theaters about 4 or 5 times. I could not get enough of it. It was so amazing. I couldn't not watch it on the big screen. It continues to be one of my favorites, although I'm very disappointed about some of the other ones, and apparently so is Johnny Depp, which is why he stays with it for so long, because he wants it to be a better ending franchise.
Yeah. Because when we got through to the second and third movies, it became less and less satisfying as far as how it ended up being. It got more and more emo, basically, as it went.
Right.
And then when we got to the fourth movie, the story became about Jack Sparrow. And as we've said in our household to each other many times, the character of Captain Jack Sparrow is not the main character. He should never be the headliner for the movies. He is actually the background character that is, well, not background, but he's the supporting character that's bouncing around into these people's lives and causing the problems.
Exactly.
He's the slapstick buddy, effectively.
Yeah, exactly.
When we look into a lot of the other things around this movie, did you know that all the names of the characters are actually connected? They're all based off of birds.
Well, that's kind of funny because, like, of course, Elizabeth Swann, that's a bird. Go ahead and tell me the other ones.
Well, you got Jack Sparrow, but the third member of the main characters was William Turner, and he was a famous ornithologist. So he's the one that's sitting there studying these two birds the entire movie.
That's funny. All right, I want to do a little bit more here. I'm going to take probably more of the Yoho color. Yeah, the Yoho color. And I'm going to put it on my lower lash line. I do want to have that smoke out a little bit more, so I'm probably going to put Tell No Tales, which is this one right here, just right here on like the outer V, just to give it a little bit more depth, because right now I feel like it's kind of one-noted.
William Turner, actually, his name is also based off of a real person that was a captain of a ship. There was a William Turner that captained a ship. I can't remember what the name of the ship was.
Oh, okay.
The name Barbossa is based off of another actual pirate, Barbarossa, also known as Redbeard. He was a Turkish pirate, and he was in the Aegean and Mediterranean seas before he became Fleet Admiral of the Ottoman Empire Navy.
Yes.
Yep. Where else do we have here? Oh, yes.
I have a fun fact.
What's your fun fact?
My fun fact is about Barbossa, actually. So I had a run-in with Jeffrey Rush. Okay, so let me tell you about my story. Back in the day when I worked at Disneyland, I also worked at Disney's California Adventure. The year it opened, I worked in guest relations very briefly because I transferred over to being a reservation sales agent because guest relations, as you can imagine for a new park, it's quite stressful. And then I was having a particularly bad day. And so we had a lounge that you could kind of go and like hang out in a little bit, not really hang out, but just like disappear if you needed to be away from the public eye, but it was a lounge for the VIP celebrities. And most of the time you knew when a celebrity was going to be there when you worked in guest relations so that you could prepare for it. However, no one told us that Jeffrey Rush was coming to the park that day, and I was having a particularly bad day, and I'm in there like crying because my day was so bad, and he walked in, no entourage, it was just him, and he walked in and he looked at me, he's like, "Are you okay?" And you know, when you work at Disney, you're not allowed to engage, well, when you work at anything park, really, you're not allowed to engage with the celebrities unless you're like part of their tour guide group entourage. So I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm fine, and then I left. So I can tell you that Jeffrey Rush is legitimately a nice, caring guy. That is my fun fact.
There you go. He's a nice dude.
And a nice dude, especially if you're crying because of work.
Actually, in an interesting twist, it was not Captain Barbossa that killed Bootstrap Bill Turner. He may have launched Bill out of the ship using the cannon from his bootstraps, but at the time, the curse was still in effect. So when he got to the bottom of the ocean, Bill Turner couldn't drown. So, in the remaining time, either he went up to shore and just walked his way back to shore and got killed immediately after the curse was released, or he never found his way out of the ocean and his own son killed him by removing the curse.
Which is why he was part of Davy Jones's locker in one of the other movies. So now I'm using the Kat Von D liquid liner to wing out my look, and then I'll be using this new liquid lipstick that just came out, Pacifica. It's Pluscious lipstick, and this is in the shade Breathless. It's like pretty new. I got it on Ulta online, and I used it on my Instagram a couple days ago. So if you guys missed it, you can go back and look and see. But I'm going to be using it because it's a really nice nude look, I think, for what we're doing today.
Good. As far as the ships go from the movie, the ship HMS Interceptor is a real ship. It's an American ship. It's the Lady Washington, the official tall ship of the state of Washington. This ship was also used in Star Trek Generations. It was used as a reference for the RLS Legacy on Treasure Planet from 2002, and it was used in the show Once Upon a Time as the Jolly Roger.
Yes, it was.
So that ship has been around in the media. Have you spotted the hidden Mickey? All right, pause right now. If you haven't spotted it, go quickly watch, and then come back and comment. In the final shot of the battle against the town, that cannon fire hits and creates a hidden Mickey when it hits the wall. I'm not certain, but isn't that also a direct reference to the ride? Because isn't that one of the holes in the wall also a hidden Mickey?
I believe so, yeah.
So that's another thing that I decided we weren't really going to cover a huge amount of, is how much of the ride got brought into the movie, because there's a ton of references.
There really is.
If you don't know those references, then you haven't been to Disneyland, and that's what you're doing next.
Or Disney World.
Or Disney World.
Yeah. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about the palette and this look and everything. The palette itself, like, I swatched it last week and I love it, and it's very creamy, but there's a lot of fallout, which you were probably noticing. I was trying to like whisk the fallout away right here, but there was a lot of fallout. It is blendable, and it's not it's not like really super pigmented on the eyes with these brushes. I would have to use the brushes I normally use in order to find out if it's a brush problem or a palette problem. The actual lipstick itself is really nice. It's not totally matte. There's a sheen to it. There's also a smell, which I can't totally place. Maybe you can.
Mango?
Yeah, it's some kind of fruit that it smells like. It did stay on. When I wore it last week, it did stay on all the way pretty much until lunchtime, and then I had to reapply. But it is really nice and moisturizing on the lips. It's not very dry at all. So this is the look that I have for Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't want this to go too long, but you know, there's so much we can talk about. But make sure you also tune in when we talk about it again for a little bit more of a dramatic look for that point. But thank you so much for spending time with us today. Make sure you join us on Wednesdays, Fridays,
And sometimes Sundays.
and until then,
Stay zany.
bye.